about to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out, die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's be free with Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out, die with my own doubts. Be free.
Oh, sorry about that. There, tell it's the first one of the new year. They weren't quite set up for the right scene there. Good evening. I'm very, very, very pleased to welcome you all to our first Tutor to You live stream revision blast of this academic year. And I guess a lot of you will be new to us, but if you have joined us last year, maybe you were in year 12 last year and you've come back for some more, then it's great to see you again. Do say hi in the chat window if you're watching live. Hi, Lindy Ann, first person to do so. I'm not going to say hi to everyone individually because that might take up the whole time. There are quite a lot of you watching live, which is great. It's lovely to see you here. But also we know lots of people watch this on catch up later on, and you're very welcome too. If you are watching live, then you can join in with all the activities as we go through them. I am joined this evening, as I often am, by Katie in the middle there and Craig over there on the side. Okay, Katie seems to have gone a little bit pixelated, but it won't matter in a minute because I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint with all the activities on. As long as we can hear her, that's all that matters.
Hello,
okay.
Are you all okay?
So without further ado, let's start. So we're doing Functionalism Marxism. So it's perspectives. We're going to apply it to some topics, year 12 type topics. Don't worry if, for example, we do a little bit on families and you are a culture and identity or health or work, poverty and welfare person. We're not doing a huge amount on families, but we just use it as one of the areas where we might apply a little bit of these perspectives. And I think in a way that you can apply your perspective knowledge with or without families and households knowledge, and there's plenty of education and general theory as well to come. Okay, here we go. So, first up, I do believe we have got Craig to tell you about the application gallery.
We do. Thank you, Duncan. Yeah, for those of you who've not joined in on the live stream before, the application gallery is an activity where we will show you a series of pictures. And what we'd like you to do is to identify in the chat concepts that you would associate with that picture. So all of the pictures are going to be focused on famous functionalists and Marxists. So we're going to start with an easy one. We're going to start with Karl Marx. And I would like you to identify as many concepts as you can with Karl Marx in 60 seconds. So what you have to do is just type your answers into the chat and we will read them out. So as many concepts as you can associate with Karl Marx. Let's start the clock. And of course, we have some funky music to go alongside our countdown, as always.
It's always nice when we get some funky music.
Now, these concepts can be these concepts can be anything. You can apply them to sort of like some of your knowledge from either education, families, culture and identity, beliefs, if you're doing beliefs. So we've got capitalism, Marx definitely talks about capitalism, conflict theory, inequalities, false class consciousness, good one. Not quite a big lover of capitalism, but he does talk about it. Opium of the masses. Education legitimizes class inequality, good concept. Conflict theory, false class consciousness.
We had economic base and superstructure from Charlie earlier. It's very good.
Oh, yeah, sorry, missed that one. Yeah.
Proletariat, dominant ideology.
Bourgeoisie, religion, opium of society, alienating the workforce, keeping equality. Oh, some really good responses coming through. So we're pretty much up on our Karl Marx here. Lots of people saying false class consciousness, exploitation, social mobility are put downwards. Okay, communism. Let's have a look at some of the responses that I've put. Man-made religion, religion did not make man. Ooh, nice quote there.
I said just some good year 13 content coming in there, didn't you?
There's a lot of, and this is what this activity is. If you are in year 13 and you've done the big kind of what we see as being the year 13 theory and methods, you can bring lots of these points in. If you've done some basic basic Marxism in year 12, you could bring some of the concepts in. If you've applied it elsewhere, there's still lots of ones coming through. Hold on to them because we're going to come back to some other Marxists in here. We've got false class consciousness, alienation, exploitation, the proletariat, bourgeoisie, superstructure and infrastructure. So we've got very similar answers to lots of you there. Of course, Marx wrote quite extensively, so there's lots of other concepts that you can bring in there. Let's move on now to looking at some functionalists.
Do we know who they are, first of all?
Well, I do.
I know you do. I'm just wondering if people in the chat window can identify either or both.
Can we identify both of them?
Or are we just going to tell them?
It's all gone quiet. It has
gone a bit quiet.
It has gone a bit quiet. And everyone's like, is it? Is it not? Is it? Is it not? Of course, on the left-hand side of your screen, as left-hand side as you look at it, you have Emil Durkheim, and on the right-hand side, we have Talcott Parsons. So again, we're going to do the same thing. 60 seconds, as many concepts as you can identify with Durkheim and Parsons. I think there might be a little bit of a delay because some people have put Durkheim in.
Yeah, Hannah spotted Durkheim, hasn't she? Yep. Okay, yeah. And Glenn. Right. Okay.
Weber. Oh, no, not Weber.
Not Weber this time.
It's okay.
Weber has a longer beard. Weber has a longer beard.
Maybe in the future. It's very difficult because there were lots of white dudes with beards.
There are quite a lot. You know, yeah, quite a few people have spotted
Weber's one we've not got there. Yeah. So, 60 seconds. Let's run through. Let's see if we can identify some concepts associated with Emil Durkheim or Talcott Parsons.
Oh, we've already got one. Consensus. Very
Consensus. Good. Social solidarity and cohesion, meritocracy, social solidarity. Again, universalistic standards. Nice one. Teaching of specialist skills, nuclear family, organic analogy. Stabilization of other personalities and primary socialization. Some people doing family there. Meritocracy, functional fit theory. That's one I like. Social cohesion, primary socialization. All running through here. Social solidarity. Everyone has a role in society. Secondary socialization. Biological differences, domestic division of labour. Okay, good.
Be good to identify
Consensus.
which some of these are, wouldn't it? Oh yeah, as a couple of people are doing that now. Yeah, Parsons specifically on
stabilising adult personality, describe and achieve status. That's a good one as well. Expressive and instrumental roles. Different family types. Warm bath theory. Yeah. Also linked into kind of this idea of stabilisation of adult personalities. Role allocation. We'll hold on to that one as well. Oh no, actually, we won't hold on to that one because role allocation is not in this one.
and well, it does relate to
universalistic
Parsons
values.
as well, doesn't it?
It does relate to. I mean, I'm thinking more about.
I know you're thinking Davison Moore as
allocation.
Q said
But
that.
Yeah.
Definitely, when we talk about functionalism, we would talk about role allocation both in stratification and in education. Organic analogy, Durkheim's study of suicide, really good responses coming through. Let's look at our answers. Social solidarity, and put boundary maintenance and put anomie. If you haven't done boundary maintenance yet, obviously we look at that sort of like in crime and deviance, and anomie, the concept of anomie, sort of like very much. I mean, there's so many more that we could link with Durkheim that you've put through already. Parsons, age-ill, adaptation, goal attainment, integration, latent functions, systems theory, which is his idea about the way society is constructed, sex role theory, which talks about the instrumental and expressive roles, and functional fit theory. There's lots of other ones. As I said, I've kept this quite vague here, but we've drawn in lots of stuff from family and education in there as well. I was going to
say all the nice stuff in the chat window from
collective conscience. There's another one's come through there. Conjugal roles, particularistic and universal standards. Yes, they are very much applied to sort of like education and other aspects of society. Some really, really good responses there. And we'll come to our last three, and these might be a little bit more tricky.
Do we know who they are?
First of all, let's see if we can identify them. Yeah, let's see if we can identify these three.
I'm going to give some clues. One on the left's Italian. There's my first. There's my first clue. A lot of his writing was done in prison. In fact,
we have mentioned one of his concepts already as well. And the number 2 is French, and number 3 is American.
Oh, Saint Bread.
Somebody said I love Gramsci.
Yeah,
Gramsci is the first one. Our second one, number 2. Do we know?
It's someone you will know about. We'll come across him in education, for example, and elsewhere.
I think Phil said from his
Elvis
concept
Presley.
already.
As someone already said, Glyn's now said Althusser. Yeah, well done.
We've got Althusser, and our final one
is not a Marxist.
This one might be a bit tricky. No, he's a functionalist. Slightly different perspective, kind of really to sort of like, or view society in a very different way to other functionalists, I would say. Gramsci, Willis, and Althusser. It's one that you might not have covered.
If you've done some crime,
you haven't done crime.
If you've done some crime, you'd have picked up on this last functionalist. Or
maybe if you've done your year 13 methods. So our number 1 is Gramsci, number 2 is Althusser, and number 3 is Robert K. Merton. So what we'd like you to do is identify some of those concepts that are associated with those sociologists again. So we'll give you 60 seconds again. And to identify concepts they've brought in.
So just in case anyone was struggling with Merton. Oh yeah, Charlie's worked out was Merton. Yeah, and Anonymous Blob has also got Merton. Yeah.
So people have put Wilmot and Murdoch, they are other functionalists, yeah?
Absolutely, we could have talked about them. Oh, Hershey, could have been.
Cohen.
Yeah, it is Merton, so some of you might know some concepts for that.
Yeah. We do have a little bit of a delay, I think, here.
Seems to be a bit of a delay, doesn't there? Oh, well done.
Yeah.
We got
ISA, yeah. Strain theory, good. Capitalism causes crime, excellent. Ideological state apparatus. Counter-hegemony, that's a nice term there. Ideological repressive state apparatus, strain theory, ideological state apparatus, strain theory, dual character, yeah. I think that's what I meant.
Yeah, some good ones there.
Hegemony. My teacher loves this channel and told us this live stream was happening today. Oh, great,
that's
nice. Okay, so hegemony, yep. Gramsci, hegemony, how the ruling class ideologies. I don't know any for Gramsci. Don't worry, we will give you some in a moment. Lots of people, myth of meritocracy. Yeah, let's go. Let's have a look at them. Let's start with Gramsci.
I've got some good ones.
So we've got
Anonymous Bob's just come up with some good ones.
hegemony, humanistic Marxism, dual consciousness, dual character. Let's look at Althusser. Ideological state apparatus, repressive state apparatus, and structural Marxism. Don't worry if some of these concepts come up. Some of these concepts are taken from kind of the year 13 theory and methods, where we look at three kind of key sociologists. And some of them, the terms may be a little bit unfamiliar to you. We're kind of doing a very broad look at Marxism and functionalism today. And so people are starting to put some of the adaptations to strain here, sort of like with Merton, and that's a fantastic thing to do, the 5 adaptations to strain. Let's look at our Merton responses. So strain theory. Merton is very, very useful as an internal critique of functionalism. He talks about sort of like how society can also be dysfunctional, whereas often we talk about functionalism and seeing rose-tinted glasses. Well, Merton also sees society does have dysfunctions, and then his role in talking about science with the kudos norms, communism, universalism, disinterestedness as the objectivity as well. I think this is the last one. Correct me on that one. That's come off the top. We'll move on to, I believe it is Duncan now for our flip side activity.
It is
really good responses so far.
Yeah, excellent. I think you're going to be good at this. We've got a couple of these, but one now and one a bit later on, where I'm going to show you one side of a coin, a view. I'm going to show you a functionalist view, and I want you to have a think about what Marxists might say about the same thing, because they're quite handy, functionalists and Marxists, for essentially seeing the same thing but having a completely different perspective on it. So it's literally the flip side of the same concept. So our first one is a families and households type one, and quite a few of you talked about the warm bath theory when Talcott Parsons came up before. But even if you're not if you don't do families and households, I think you could still have a think about what Marxists would think about this, or what they would likely think about it. So we've got the warm bath theory. The family acts as a warm bath, taking away the stress and strain of the working day, and therefore it helps society to function well. Okay, what do you think Marxists might think about this? And if you can identify a specific Marxist or some specific Marxist concepts that look on the flip side of this, then do identify them in there. Glyn's put a bit about Althusser in the chat window. We might discuss that another time. Fact, interesting biographical details about sociologists could be a separate thing.
It is
Anna,
true though, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Anna has put a safe haven from exploitation, and Hannah, that's how I've got to separate those. Anna, Zaretsky talked about the safe haven, that this exploits the working class, it benefits capitalism, lots of people coming through there. Yeah, it doesn't benefit the working class safely, absolutely. Yeah, Zaretsky talking about safety, safe haven, working class have the stress of work because they have to work long hours. This all benefits capitalism. We've also seen some nice bits about essentially kind of a Marxist feminist take on this, which would be like your kind of Fran Ansley type approach, the slaves of wage slaves, reserve army of labour, people talking about that as well, which is really good. So I'm going to show a brief flip side of it, but you've added a great deal more to there. Yeah, so the family acts as a safe haven for the worker, performs a psychological function so they can return to work the next day, and critically to help capitalism. It doesn't actually, according to Zaretsky, benefit the working class families themselves. It just provides a function for the ruling class. Okay, lots of interesting stuff coming up in the chat window, so very well done. We've got a connection wall now from Katie.
Hi guys, wow, there's some really impressive answers here. I feel like this is going to be, I'm expecting great things from you guys, so just put the expectations up there high. So you may have come across this before. If not, I'll just quickly explain it. In a minute, there's going to be 12 key phrases that are connected to a theme within education mainly, but there is like a little link to family, so I'm just going to leave that sort of loose there. What you need to do is organise the concepts into 3 groups of 4. You could do it like A1, or just get like, for example, or if you want to, you can write maybe the first word rather than the whole sentence or something like that. There isn't a timer on this, so basically you're organising those concepts into 3 groups of 4. So firstly, what are they and how might they be connected? So let's get some ideas down. How would you might bundle these words together?
Grid references is probably the quickest and easiest way to do it,
Yeah.
isn't it? So you could sort of say C2, D2, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, might have given a clue.
It's quite a lot to take in there. So maybe start with the
There is.
easier ones. I mean, maybe start with the first, I don't know, A1, and how might they be linked to anybody else, for argument's sake.
Can you remember what order they come up on the screen, Katie?
Yes, I do. It's not that one first. That one's last.
That was what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was thinking for easiness, so
Yeah.
we don't have to we can.
No, absolutely.
We can get some other. Okay, so we've got A1, C1. Yeah.
C2, D1, D2.
D1
Theorists,
yeah,
but what
so,
sort of theorists?
Yes, there is. Yes.
Oh, Q has suggested functionalist sociologists and policies.
And Lottie has as well. Spot on. Policies, not so much, but I can see what you're thinking.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the national curriculum and stuff.
National curriculum, national testing.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the A1, the C2, D2, I'm trying to find the other one now. D1. Obviously, a lot of you have said those functionalist theories. Not just talk about education, because obviously Murdoch does it, but I understand that some of you might not have come across him because it's an optional topic. Educational policy. Potentially, what ones
see
have we
why
got?
they might be.
There might be, but look at them in comparison to the other ones potentially. So we're getting the categories together, correct? Okay, so we've got. I'm trying to work out the group references now. 2A.
Okay, how about Anna's one here? A3, B3, B2, B1. Reasons for disadvantages in class.
Yeah, so we're getting on the right track there with Anna. Mm-hmm. And so how might the other ones be linked? So looking at maybe A2.
C3, C1.
So we've got B1. So how might they be linked? So look, some of you, yeah. So Mia's sort of, I think, there with the idea of potentially meritocracy. You've got A2, C3, and D3. And there's one more that you might need Mia to add to that one. So there's quite a lot. I think we're getting lots to do. And to be honest, if you can make the link, it's at the end of the day, there's so many concepts in sociology that actually there's not necessarily right or wrong. The important bit is how you've made that link. So if you can justify a link, potentially, raising standards. So as Mia said, meritocracy in education. So we've got the national curriculum, arguably is meritocratic because most schools follow the national curriculum. You've got free education for all, if obviously those people choose to do that. There's national testing, and arguably setting streaming based on ability and effort would be arguably meritocratic. And then the next one, which I think sort of people hinted at, but maybe not fully there, though a lot of people have referenced sort of the idea of inequality of education. You potentially could link it to ethnicity or social class, which I think Anna had done. So the next one, do you mind clicking onto that, Duncan?
Absolutely not. So it's the flip side, really, isn't it? Again,
yeah, it's the myth of meritocracy. And if you want to, for sort of bonus question, if you know, can you remember a name that talks about the myth of meritocracy? Maybe you can write that down in the chat. And obviously, those are examples that create that myth of meritocracy within education. But I can see how people may have linked that potentially just to social class generally, or potentially some links to ethnicity, although not exclusive to ethnicity there. Obviously, they mentioned social class.
And I think we got the last group, didn't we? Yeah, we got the last group, didn't we?
Does anyone know who talks about the myth of meritocracy? Has anyone got a name? I know there's a slight delay on this. Inequalities in education. I think we've got those links.
Yeah, it is coming up again later, isn't it?
It's coming a bit,
meritocracy, so we could. I think a few people have got pretty close to it in the chat window, but it's coming up.
Especially when we're typing really quickly. I think there might be a slight delay, but actually, again, it's going back to that sort of thing that Duncan just looked at with the flip of the coin. It's that idea they both talk about the same thing but see the approach differently. I think I don't know who's coming next, but we're looking at categorise.
I think it's Craig.
It is Duncan. Thank you very much. Yeah, like both Duncan and Katie have just said, there's many times where functionalism and Marxism have very similar concepts. And there's also times where sort of like they agree that something happens, but they suggest it happens for completely different reasons. And we're going to look at that in this activity here called a categorize. You have 8 concepts in front of you, and I would like you to categorize them into either functionalist concepts, Marxist concepts, or that they apply to both. Right, so you have 60 seconds to organize them into those 2. What you might want to do in the chat when you're typing this in is you might want to put functionalism and then the number, Marxism, then the number, or both, then the number of which ones fit into that category. It's possibly the best way to do that. So you have 8 concepts: ruling class dominance, importance of social institutions, social solidarity, alienation, society's meritocratic, value consensus, class conflict, and structural theory. 60 seconds to organise them or to categorise them. And starting now.
Some people have already got some of them.
Through with them already.
Wow.
Lots of right answers.
Okay, so we've got Marxism 147, functionalism, I'm assuming it's 25. Yeah, 147, 22. 2, yeah. Marxism 147, both is 8. 2, 3, and 5, functionalism. Number 1 is Marxism, yeah. 6, not 3. Okay. 365 functionalism, 137 Marxism.
Well done, Charlie.
Functionalism. 36852 functionalism. Okay, lots of responses coming through.
Impressive.
Some good answers.
Okay, there are some really good responses coming through there. Just waiting a couple of seconds for everyone to catch up with these. Marxism 147. Okay, both B5. Sorry, 8 and 5, not B5. Need to put my glasses on next week. Both is number 8. Okay, let's reveal our responses then. Yeah, and those who said 365 for functionalism were correct. Those who said 147 for Marxism were correct. And those who put both as number 2 and number 8 are right. Functionalism looks at a value consensus, whereas Marxism suggests that there is a class conflict in society. Both of them see it as being as society as being part of a structural theory. Functionalism suggests society is meritocratic, whereas Marxists look at the idea that there is a ruling class dominance in society. Both look at the idea that social institutions are important. And functionalism, we have social solidarity, whereas with Marxism, we have alienation of individuals. So a very quick activity there and some really, really good knowledge shown by all of you in the chat.
Really good. Well done. We've got another one of these flip side ones now. We're going to apply this to education now rather than families, but it's the same thing. We've got a functionalist idea here that pupils learn the norms and values of society. So that's the kind of secondary socialization type thing, isn't it there? Through the things they learn in school. And here I'm talking about the things they learn in school outside the classroom, which we can call the hidden curriculum. But obviously they learn it through things in the classroom as well. This way society functions properly. Okay, what's the Marxist flip side to that? Okay, what's on the flip side? If I flip this coin, we're on functionalism. What would Marxists think? It's another one of these cases where they don't, on one level they don't disagree at all. they think school does do this thing, but then in another way they agree fundamentally. Which does come back to that consensus conflict type divide within sociology. So Q's talked about Bowles and Gintis, the correspondence principle. Okay, very good. So one of the things they learn through the hidden curriculum and these what we're describing in the functionalist side as being norms and values of society is essentially how to put up with work, prepares working class kids for working class jobs, as Q's put there. We've also got a really good point there, the ideologies of the ruling class, rather than it just being the norms and values of society, what they're learning is bourgeois ideology. Again, Nathan talking about education mirroring the workplace through the hidden curriculum. We've got teaching skills to put up with exploitation, to become an ideal worker. It's just a way for the ruling class to create a submissive workforce through the structure of the school, prepares kids for jobs. Yeah, really, really, really good points coming out there. Reinforces capitalism, teaches us the norms and values of the ruling class, building obedience through hierarchical structure, prepare students for the workforce. Yeah, loads and loads of good stuff there. So let's flip it. You've said loads more than I have, but pupils learn how the ruling class want them to behave in society, the bourgeois ideology, and they do this through the hidden curriculum, and it provides capitalism with docile and compliant workers. And lots of you have said how it does that. The long shadow of work, the correspondence principle, Bells and Gintis, really, really good stuff in the chat window there, wasn't it?
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. We're back to Katie.
With the evaluation.
Yeah, a little bit of valuation.
Okay, so I'm sure you've looked at this in regards to evaluation. So there's lots of ways you can evaluate. There's strengths, criticisms, alternatives, limitations, and evidence that either will support or reject your statement. So we can mix it up a bit. What we're going to do today is carry on with this theme that seems to be quite constant today, which is this idea of almost flipping two sides of the coin. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at education. And a student has made an essay. It potentially could be about, evaluate the claim that education is meritocratic. And they've said that education is meritocratic based on a system of equal opportunities. And the student might give some examples of that or something along that line. So we're going to see what type of evaluation we're going to ask you guys to do. So in a minute, we're going to spin that wheel, almost like the Wheel of Fortune, but the evalu wheel. And we're going to see where it lands. And what we wanted to do is you to criticise this point, okay? So can you think of a criticism? You can type that in the chat. Just a little sentence potentially. Might take you a little while to do that. Can you think of a criticism of the idea that school is meritocratic? Some of the things we've looked at already potentially.
Yeah. Or you could come up with a different criticism, couldn't you? I mean, so we're sort of imagining you're likely to come up with a kind of Marxist criticism here, but there might be other criticisms potentially.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I think we did as well. We had some, without leading you too much, I think we had some feminist arguments there earlier. I think we had some, I'm sure I saw some interactionist ideas there as well.
Yeah. Potentially postmodern if people are feeling brave. Yeah, there's lots you could bring in here.
You could put it, yeah.
There's a kind of obvious. I guess there's a kind of obvious Marxist point.
Yes.
Isn't there?
But remember, with this criticism, it has to be against this actual point, where, in order to sort of be effective with that sort of evaluation. So it doesn't consider institutional racism yet. So how you might want to elaborate that a little bit more. How does that impact on meritocracy? Is it not meritocratic for those that are ethnic minorities? There's gender differences in education. So again, developing those ideas, cultural material deprivation. We've got the language codes. We've got lots of examples, cultural, social capital, maybe potentially the lack of that. Remember, it's thinking about explaining how that isn't meritocratic.
Q's put the myth of meritocracy.
Okay, yes, we've got the myth of meritocracy as well, which I know we talked about earlier with Bowles and Gintis. Yeah,
Glynn's put a bit more detail on that.
Yeah, develop that and give us some examples. To be honest, any of those ideas, like we said earlier, you could potentially take it from a feminist argument, which I think I saw earlier, or the gender differences. It's explaining how that's not meritocratic and building that out a little bit. And I know some of you put some examples like the code. So if we sort of have a little look at this is one of the answers. However, as I think Q said, that there isn't those equal opportunities, that unequal based on the myth of meritocracy, which Bowles and Gintis talks about. And again, you can elaborate that a little bit more, maybe with some evidence to evaluate that as well. And then Mills has also said maybe potentially about girls and boys achieving differently, maybe give some examples.
A few people have brought in Becker and labelling, which is quite an interesting way to go with it. To
evaluate that. Yes, there's quite a lot there on that. And what I sort of want to pull out here is, actually, though we're looking at education here, we've looked a little bit of family. So just, I know potentially a lot of you haven't looked at sort of theory and methods yet, but a lot of these concepts, these can be used throughout the course in lots of different ways. So it's making sure you don't sort of think, oh, that's just education knowledge or that's just family knowledge. Actually, it's really important to revise all this stuff because it actually threads all the way through. You might have noticed that with some of you started crime already, that stuff can be pulled into crime, particularly concepts like labelling as well. Okay, I think it's back to me again, I think.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
It is. Okay, so we're going to continue looking at sort of Marxism. This time we're going to carry on with evaluation, but we're going to look at criticism of Marx's approach rather than the functionalist approach we looked at earlier. So what we'd like you to do is, you've got a timer. Can you remind me how long we've got, Duncan?
I think it's 30 seconds.
Okay, we'll see. We've got 30 seconds to write down 3 criticisms of the Marxist approach to education. So it's just bullet pointing 3 criticisms. Obviously, you could explain it a little bit more in your own time, but for right now, it's just writing those key points down and thinking what they are. So we're ready.
Have you got your bass, Craig? I've got my bongos ready.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was on guitar this week.
Oh, Kate, is it on bass? Oh, I've got my bongos.
So 2 criticisms of Marxism. We've got number 1 written by Saint. What's going to follow? What other criticism? Maybe you can think about your theories you may have looked at already. Okay, so maybe emphasis on social class, but not necessarily ethnicity. Yeah, that's cute. Any other weaknesses coming through? Too deterministic, ignores how social class inequalities are reducing. Yes, particularly through policy. Thanks for that, Anna. Doesn't explain gender differences yet. Obviously, if you look at sort of maybe Marxist feminists, they would. Anything particular with Marx's approach?
Too focused on the economy.
Starting to get them through now. Too deterministic. Ignores. Thanks for that, Charlie. Oh goodness, ethnicity. I think that's supposed to be rather than ethical, potentially. Myth and meritocracy. So I suppose the opposite with that would be that is meritocratic, potentially. So these are sort of some of the points here. Just be careful that you're sort of, it's not so much a criticism, they're sort of supporting the Marxist view, a little bit of those. Remember, it's criticising it rather than sort of reinforcing it. But yeah, we've got some different ones there and perfectly applicable to look at. And some of you might not have come across postmodernists yet, so this one is one we're going to have a look at now.
Okay, so
let's have a little look. Oh yeah, outdated. The class structure has changed. Yes, Karl Marx was talking about sort of very much a 2 system. We've now got 7. So that was Anonymous Blob. So yeah, ethnocentric, potentially Karl Marx was writing. So postmodernism suggests there's a death as class now, that we're far more individualised, so the class debate is irrelevant. It may have not looked at that yet. Obviously, that might be something. Obviously, got pick and mix in the curriculum, not necessarily based on class. A lot of you talked about being too deterministic, and the fact that actually policies have changed to allow for more working class people going to university and social mobility. And then obviously I think some of you talked about meritocracy as well. So lots, and there's other ones in there which you said which are perfectly fine as well, with the idea it ignores gender and it ignores the class system potentially. So some great ideas. Oh yeah, and we've got Glyn has talked about maybe not quite the school, so I won't say, but lots of schools are people going to different universities as well. So yeah, exactly. And also I like that one Fatima's put about assumes that the working class are passive, and maybe so they're not passive. That's quite a nice one there. So that's really interesting. I know you couldn't get away without one of these, could you, Duncan?
No. So just before we finish, we've got a few little word smashes. So if you haven't seen these before, there's just an explanation on this first slide of how this works. It's a little bit like on Richard Osman's House of Games, if you've ever seen that. We have a picture that has nothing to do with sociology, and then for the real ones, the clue will be to do with sociology, to do with Marxism or functionalism. And he smashed the two together. So in this case, we have a picture of an elephant. We have a clue that takes you to Antarctica. So the answer is Elephantarctica. So the end of the first word is the start of the second one. Okay, that's how it works. So let's see how you get on with this. So we've got a picture of some sort of foodstuff and a state of normlessness.
I always have to look at these because I don't even know what that food stuff is.
Well, no, I mean, to be fair, it has a look of a creme brulee, but that doesn't work with the state of normlessness or not at all. So you might want to work backwards, do the clue first, and then work out what the food was.
I've also realised you've chosen quite a sort of 1970s food item.
A little bit, yeah. So Glyn has got the important bit, which is a sociological point. Oh, nearly. So yeah, cakeonomy. It's so well done. You have spotted its enemy. A few people are doing that. That is the right bit. Anyone want to have a? It's not cake. Anyone else want to have a go at what that? Sort of gelatinous. It's not jelly enemy. It has to. The two have to sort of clash together.
Panacotomy. I never get the rules.
Yeah, Flanomy.
Tartanomy.
So I would like to know. I'd almost like to do a show of hands on this,
Tartan, yeah,
who knew what that
tartanomy.
picture was, because I didn't. I had to look
Oh,
at the
it does look.
answer.
To be fair, Amelie, it does look
Creme
more like
caramel
a
anime.
creme caramel. I was gonna do like a sort of ham and cheese flan type thing, but then I thought everyone will think that's a quiche, and then it'd be like quiche-onomy or whatever. So apologise if you didn't recognise that as a flan, but you get the idea though. Okay, so let's try how we
Orange
do
cake
this
anime.
one then.
That's a nice one.
See how
This
you
will be
do with this
better.
one
This will
then.
be better.
So the functionalist idea that society is like a human body.
Oh, I just love to know what's going on in your head, Duncan. To be like, we all know who the first one is. Not obviously the actor's name.
Oh, Q, flanomy doesn't mean anything. Sorry. So everyone was right with it being anomy. It's just a silly thing where the first bits. The right answer was anomy for the sociological clue, and it was just like a question. So again, we're
getting the
we've got it now. Yes, so it is organic analogy, and we've got Thor. So Thor and organic analogy becomes Thorganic analogy. So well done, those of you spotting the organic analogy.
It's not taken them long at all to get the concept.
No, you have got the concept now.
No, which is an important bit. You will not have a question on that. Malay.
Okay, and then last
Organic
one.
analogy.
Oh, I like it being Hemsworth analogy. it was Chris Hemsworth or something. The actor. So Thorganic. Yeah. And there you go, Mills. That's how you're going to remember the organic analogy now. That's good. So as long as you don't write Thorganic analogy in the exam, if it helps you remember it, that's brilliant. Okay, last one. Marx's term for the underclass, and we've got some sort of sweet on the left hand side.
I've got to admit, in the
It's the
3 or
brand
4
name of the sweet.
kind of we've been doing this for 3 or 4 academic years now, and this has got to be one of my favourite ones. This is brilliant, I think.
So, all right, Mills put proletariat. The proletariat was Marx's term for the working class. He did not see them as an underclass. They were the majority of the population in Marx's eye. So we've got Marshall.
Oh, so close.
Someone got pretty close.
Kizzy
Kizzy knows what the sweet is, I think, which will help. So it's not just a marshmallow, but a particular. So just a quick reminder that Marx didn't consider the proletariat to be an underclass. He saw them as being the revolutionary majority of the working class society. So it's not proletariat, but it is. Sandra's got it, and Hannah's got the sweet. So if we put them together, we've got we've got both bits of this.
We've got Flump. DJ Baby Moo's got Flump.
Quite a few people got Flump. Hannah got Flump. DJ Baby Moo got Flump. And a few people now have said lumpen proletariat. So if we put them together... No, I still haven't seen one. No, it's not Marsh underclass.
Everyone's so close.
Flump. It is a flump. It is a flump. And it is the lumpen proletariat. So if we put those together, it is the... Flumpen the Flumpen proletariat. Lano pretty much got there with Flumpen. Yes, because sometimes people would say lumpen, don't they, when they mean lumpen proletariat. So well done, Lana. Okay, yes, thank you. A few people now coming in with Flumpen proletariat. That is just a bit of fun, that last activity. I hope I haven't confused anyone with it. But we do enjoy it. Well done. A few people got that now at the end. And we'll come back to the green room, or whatever we call it, the studio, GTG studio. Some brilliant answers there today, wasn't it? Some fantastic stuff. So that really impressive. We are...
Lots of really good answers.
Going to be... so a few people saying they've not heard of lumpen proletariat. Don't worry too much about that. It's a reasonably obscure Marxist term, but you could use it when you're talking about
It's more likely to come up when you do things like stratification rather than
if this stratification would. But you could, if you're talking about the new right and the underclass, you could make a sort of comparison with the Marxist concept of the lumpen proletariat.
I think you're also concerned with what a flump is as well. It's
Yeah,
just a brand name for a marshmallow.
it is. It's
basically.
a marshmallowy type sweet called a flump. Don't worry about it too much. But now you know if someone says, "Have you got any flumps?"
They're
That's what they
tasty.
mean.
Good. Flumps are good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, we've got there. I think we've got there with the flumps. So next week, I believe we're going to look at feminism and interactionism. I think that's the plan. Same time,
so.
same place. And so it would be great if you could all come and join us again. It's been really fun interacting with you this evening, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it too. If you have enjoyed it, please do click the thumb and like it. And that helps more people find these videos. And also, if you're new to us this time, and I know there will be quite a few people, year 12s, etc., joining us, then do subscribe to this channel because you'll find out about future live streams. But also, there are loads and loads of tutor sociology videos about all the topics you're going to be covering over the next couple of years. I'm also going to very quickly get a quick plug in before we go. Someone's put, does this happen every single week consistently? It's going to happen for the next few weeks, apart from half-term week, up until the end of November, and then we might have a bit of a break, and then we will be doing some more later on, and we always do loads in the lead up to the exams. So yes, you will get to know us. Just going to do a really quick plug before we go. If your teachers might be taking you, in which case we'll see you there. We're doing some workshops. We do them in end of November, beginning of December. We go to a few places around the country for our Strong Foundations workshop. We come out again in the spring on our Grade Booster ones. Your teachers might be bringing you to one or the other, and if they are, we'll see you there. But you can come individually as well. So if any of you are interested in that, if you look on the Tutor2 website, and that's some revision workshops that we do, which you might find useful.
And I think this year we're going to have to give out flumps. By the looks of it.
We might give out some flumps as prizes if you come and see us live. Okay.
Lots of people not know what flumps are, so
you will
need to educate them.
Okay. Oh, Mills is coming to a workshop in November. Fantastic. We'll see. We'll see you then. Hopefully, some of the rest of you will join them. Okay. See you all next week, or hopefully, and we'll see you soon. All right. Cheers. Thanks, Katie and Craig. Thanks very much.
Bye.
See ya. Bye bye.